In about 2005, the pastors of Vancouver gathered together and began to pray about what God would have us do. At that particular point, there were about 34 churches, and 10 of those churches were without pastors. As we prayed together, we determined that what the Lord really wanted us to do was begin to reach out evangelistically, disciple people, and start new churches. And so in 2006, we launched an effort to begin that. Since 2006, we've planted about 60 churches, and God has been very gracious to us to see many people being baptized. Even today up at Bunsen Lake, one of our Chinese congregations will be baptizing about 17. That's 4 congregations that have been launched over that period of time, and they've baptized over 600 Mandarin believers. As we look at our city, we see some incredible opportunities. Those opportunities include the fact that there are right now over 200 different language groups in our city, and they stretch all over the globe. The capability of reaching out globally to touch the Pacific Rim in particular from our city is very, very much a reality. The ability now to go to Central America, back to Africa, or over to Europe from this city that is so diverse and so densely populated. We've said that our city is one that is going vertical. So as you see other strips or other films of this area, you're going to see a lot of high-rises. There's not a lot of land, but there's a lot of high-rises. And as you look over the city and you realize that there are 80 churches, we've come to the reality that we only have about 9 pieces of property. So our strategy when we began to launch those churches was to say, how can we begin to establish hubs, central places where multiple churches can meet, where multiple churches can plant, where multiple churches can train, where pastors can have fellowship with one another. We determined that what we desired to see was 10 different centers all over the Lower Mainland and on Vancouver Island, out of which we would do that. One of those centers is Richmond.
Here in Richmond, because we have all of the immigrants, when they immigrate here to Canada, more specifically to Richmond, they bring all of their culture and they bring all of their religion with them. I just saw a statistic the other day that Richmond has the most foreign-born residents of any city in the world. And so we battle all of those immigrants and those foreign residents who bring all of their thoughts, beliefs, culture with them. And so when you're sharing Christ with them, a majority of them have no clue what you're talking about. Probably over 50% would be non-religious, would claim no religion whatsoever in their life. The other 40% or so would be of those of Buddhist and Hindu and Muslim and Sikh, Catholic, any type of world religion that you could think of. And then when you really narrow it down to those who are really sold out for Jesus, the evangelical Christians, it is really around 4, 5, 6% of our population here in Richmond.
What do you think happens to you when you die?
Well, I think if you're a good person, you go to the place up there, and if you do bad things, then you go down there.
What comes to your mind when you hear the word church?
Church, the place that the Christian do their what they believe in. So what they believe in the Jesus, and they do their job depends on their beliefs. Yeah, and what they believe in.
When you hear the name Jesus, who do you think about?
Everybody.
And what do you mean by everybody?
Every human being.
Every human being is Jesus?
No, every human being has the quality to become enlightened.
Enlightened. Okay, so you believe Jesus was...
So it's a potential but that potential has to be developed. You can't just say, just because I follow that person called Jesus, right, and don't do anything about it. You actually got to apply what he said.
Okay.
If you don't apply what you said, how can you actually get there? And you can't actually say that he can save you. He can't save you. He can guide you, right? But he can't save you.
My name is Brad Forlow, my wife Rhonda. We have 3 kids, Lauren, Rachel, and Ian. We moved up from Dallas, Texas area 2 years ago to plant a church in Steveston. So we are NAM Church Planting Missionaries is how we define ourselves, looking to start a gospel-centered church in Steveston. Steveston is a unique community. It's on the waterfront, right where the Fraser River comes out into the Strait of Georgia. Still very much a commercial fishing village. That's what it was established as back in the 1800s. But now it's really become like a tourism site, one of the top places in Vancouver to come see. Cruise ship brings their excursions down, all sorts of things. There's a number of TV shows and movies filmed here. So it's kind of a cool place to see as far as the little village area goes, right on the water. It's also becoming kind of the up-and-coming place to live for people that want to get out of high-rises and come live on the waterfront in a nice little community that's pretty much walkable, and you can get to everything through transit or just walking. But it does have challenges spiritually. You know, since the whole world is here, there's people from every single world religion here. We have friends that are Muslim and Hindu and Buddhist and Sikhs, and kind of cover the gamut of the world religions. And then we have a lot of friends that are basically what the typical Canadian would say is just no interest in spiritual things at all. So just really indifferent to spiritual things, indifferent to God and to the Bible, to Christianity. No context for any of that even. Even a family living next to us that was, you would think they were just a typical North American family. Didn't know what a pastor was, doesn't know what a church is. The daughter didn't know what the cross was or what a Bible was. So just no connection to church for generations, and that's just kind of the prevailing culture here. Just no perceived need, I think, is part of the challenge. People's lives are good and just have no need to be searching for anything else and something kind of greater than themselves. And we do block parties, neighborhood block parties at our house. Occasionally we rent the school facilities for that too. Just to really start establishing a kind of a community here and getting people out and a chance to get to know people and just initiate that relationship. We've also done what we call cross-training camps. It's VBS style camps where kids are doing soccer or football, arts and crafts, music. And then we get a chance to do chronological Bible storying and take them from creation to the cross as a chance to be able to start getting them exposed to the gospel and getting resources home to the families. And then on a bigger level, we're heavily involved in the community. We do a lot of work through the community center and the Gulf of Georgia Cannery, which is a historical site in town. So we've kind of just tried to find any inroads into the community to become a presence in this community, to be a blessing to those around us in the neighborhood and to the community at large.
This is the 3rd year in a row we've had Pastor Robbie Evans come and help us do some sports camps and prayer walking and evangelism through all of the sites and here in our city. And even this week, he's had many opportunities to share Christ with people and learn even some new things about our city. We've also had Bubba Burcham here this week, who loves football, he loves Jesus, and he's had an opportunity to jump in and help coach a little Pee-wee football team this week, and he met some of the dads of that team when we had a men's event here at our church, and he was able to really clearly share Christ with the men from our neighborhood and some friends that even drove in from other places to come play games, but most of all have some fellowship and hear Bubba speak and just talk football. That was the way we connected them. But we're really, really lucky, blessed, whatever word you want to use, for the long-term partnership with First Baptist Church of Broken Arrow.
There are national leaders that came out and prayed over Steveston. You guys are doing a camp out there. There were 50 people gathered, 60 gathered last night. Those national leaders saw a church at Steveston. A prayer that there'll be a church at the Olympic Oval. A prayer that there'll be a church in downtown. A prayer that there'll be a church out in White Rock. Those are all answers to long-term plans. I had cancer a few years ago. I thought that they told me that it would be back, and it would be back with a vengeance. They said it would be back in 4. It's been nearly 15 years. And so the privilege of being here to see it is overwhelming. And the privilege of seeing the sacrifice pay off. The reality that obedience is far more important than comfort, than family, than security, than all the religious programming you can have, because you suddenly get the opportunity to see your family multiplying and changing the world.